What?
That was weak.
Oh, what's up, everybody? You caught us at the beginning. What can we say? You caught us off guard, but here we are again, coming at you, baby. We're talking about the soul in your chicken soup. No, that's not. Are we talking about that today?
No, we talking about soul food.
No. We're talking about your 401k.
Yeah.
Now, if you got a 401k, you do not want to miss this. Raise your hand. Of course, I can't see it, so don't raise your hand. If you got a 401k, nobody, everybody. Okay, at the same time, this is important, guys, because I'll tell you, if I did the math around America, we got, what, 300 and whatever million people in the country. And probably 85%. Now, those of you who are mathematical statisticianary people that are going to do research on Google and trying to find all the details of how many actual people have 401ks in America are going to know this number might be a little bit off, but that's okay. The idea is many people in America today have a 401k.
That's a fact.
So what should you be doing to maximize your 401k? Now, we're not talking about the idea of how much you put in. You'll know that in the Investing Basics course that we got on Empower America show, we talk about one of the pieces is the wealth target, right? I mean, talking about the 5 ways to make money. That's important. And the 401k is one of them if you're working for a company. But I want to take a minute and, guys, talk about some of the stuff inside of the 401k, because I think there's some hidden traps and things people are not really thinking about, and there's some opportunity people are not really thinking about.
Right.
401ks are big, and you know the challenge is a lot of times when you get a 401k, you don't get a lot of advice.
Right. You don't get any advice.
Yeah. You're like, here's the advice. Keith and Kevin, here's your options. We got your options for your 401k. There's 120 options that you can invest in, and what we'd like and we're the company that's providing the investments, and we would like you to choose which investments you'd like.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know why we want you to choose? Because we don't want to have any liability in case it doesn't work out.
Right. I'm just here to collect my check.
Exactly. Yeah. We're here to empower you to take your money, so that way, no. I mean, that's what happens, right?
Right.
I mean, think about that. There's no advice, is there?
Absolutely not.
And where does that leave people, really?
Investing in things that they don't have nothing, they don't have no knowledge about it.
When I invested my 401k, you know what I looked at?
What?
Which was provide the higher return. That's all I cared about.
That's a great way to future cast. Keith's like, all right, let me think about this. I'll get my pen out, make it nice and sharp, because it is a pen, and in the first place, you can't put it in the sharpener. And he's like, all right, okay, look. Kevin, this investment in the last 10 years averaged 12% a year.
Right.
And this one only averaged 10. Let's put 100% of our money in this.
That's exactly what I did. And you know what? And it didn't work out, so I called him. I was say, hey, I need to get my money out of this. I want to go in something safer. Well, sir, I'm sorry. You can't do that for another 30 days.
Yeah.
And I was just stuck in it.
You're done. And then you're like, well, wait a minute. Why is it that I'm in a situation where I invested in this investment that made a lot of money in the last 10 years, and for some reason now all of a sudden this technology they're not using it anymore.
Right.
So it's great point.
I feel like I was getting scammed.
It's kind of what happens. And so just because, okay, here's a great point, right? Just because the historical numbers, when you're taking a look at what you're investing in your 401k, just because the historical numbers look good, doesn't mean that that's what you should be investing in for the future.
Really?
It's almost like dating. Hey, the historical view is looking pretty good, but what does the future forecast look like? Go check out the mama. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's so important. When you're looking at your investment, I mean, that is really what you need to be thinking about is, okay, what is actually inside this fund? You know, and unfortunately, you out there should not be the one that has to make all of those decisions. But a lot of 401k plans, guys, they're just not bringing a lot of great advice.
No advice.
They're no advice.
Yeah.
They're giving you the quarterly updates where they're coming in and talking about this or this or this, who's signing up, who's putting more in. That's mainly the conversation. But they're not really talking about the plans.
Yeah, they're talking about, you know how much you're putting in and how much they're matching, but other than that, you're walking blind.
I remember I was getting something in the mail like I can't remember how often it was like every couple months. It was like a big, thick book of everything. I opened up, I was like,
all the prospectuses.
I can't read this shit. What is this?
Yeah. If thou hast have invested into thy, you're like, I don't know this language.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Didn't have the basics.
Yeah, they didn't have the basis, you know, and so that's really the idea. Obviously, if you don't have the basics, go get them. By the way, that's why we got that course up.
If you're not reading your statement too, you could be losing a lot of money. You have no idea.
Yeah. So here's the material point. We didn't want to make this a super long show, but we wanted to do one because we think it's valuable. Because I know a lot of you out there have 401ks. Number one, get the free money. We've talked about that before. If your company is matching, we think it makes sense. You have to make the decision that what you feel is right for you, but we believe it might make sense to get that match, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if they're going to match the 5% or 3% or 7%, get the match. It's free money. Number two, you know, listen, those providers, the 401k providers, reach out to them. Be the squeaky wheel. Ask questions. Say, hey, listen, help me understand what's going on inside this investment. If it talks about oil and gas, if it talks about, you know, a growth fund, or if it talks about whatever, like what are some of the stocks that are inside of this? What are some of the mutual funds? What are some of the ETFs that are inside of this? And what are these things invested in? In other words, get vested into your own future. I think that's really the point.
That is the point. Yep.
You know, I think a lot of people are in a place where they're like, well, you know, my 401k provider, my 401k's up or my 401k's down, and they kind of are passively walking through the process, just like, I'll just take whatever comes.
Right. Well, you got to understand too. Like when I first started a 401k plan, the market, I don't know anything about the stock market or anything. And I started turning on MSNBC, looking at, what's that show, the SWAT box?
Oh, CNBC.
CNBC,
yeah,
not MSNBC.
Yeah, CNBC.
Which, by the way, I used to be on that a lot.
Right, yeah, you used to be on that show. So I used to tune in and watch and just start to follow the market. You notice that the market is like this.
Yeah.
So when the market's down, don't look at things short term either. You got to more look at it long term. But you got to understand what you're in, and you know the market's going to do this. You got to know how to navigate when the market's going down and when the market's going up. You got to know what to be in. The right stocks and things like that.
It's almost like, what was the song back in the day? Got to keep them separated. So what does that mean as far as investments? Well, you have to pay attention to where things are moving.
Yeah. And just basically looking at TV show, the market's up today, the market's down today. You start to learn just by sitting back, listening to people on TV, you start to learn.
So what you're saying is when I invested my 401k, I was invested in Blockbuster when I should have been invested in Netflix.
That's what I'm telling you. Yeah. So you want to be paying, you're already in some degree paying attention to trends.
Yeah.
Okay. So pay attention to what that looks like. And more importantly, because these 401ks are loaded down. This is why we're saying you just got to be in a place where you just go for the match and that's it. They are loaded down oftentimes with fees. Mm-hmm. And we can do this for you for a small fee.
Right.
You know, so they got all these fees, and a lot of the fees inside of the 401k, there was some studies done, 7, 8, 9, 10, sometimes 4, 5, 6, depending on the plan, types of fees inside of there, and they don't have to disclose all of them. Mm. How about we do this? How about we just send a bunch of money to Ukraine and not tell you what it's actually going for? It's just kind of the same idea,
same
right?
Thing.
It's the same thing. So you're in a place where and now you're dependent on this growth mechanism that you really don't know what's happening. And so what we're challenging you to do is, in the empowerment piece of your life, is to step back, evaluate what you're doing. Look at where you're putting your money. Look at where, just because it's coming out of your paycheck and going into the 401k and you're like, well, I'm not getting the money, and you're investing in that.
Right.
You pay attention to it. Pay attention to what's happening. Pay attention to where the money's going. Pay attention to what the funds are doing. Make phone calls to your people. Don't just worry about what you're doing this weekend to hang out and party. Make sure you're paying attention to what your investment is in and what it's going to, so that way it can grow. And don't, the other thing I'll say, guys, is don't just be okay with the old adage of, well, we're just in this for the long haul.
Right.
We're just going to hang in there.
Right.
I mean, hanging's no fun.
Right.
We know that.
No fun.
You try that one time, you're like, I think I will not do that again. Ever. So be in a situation, you're done. Game over. So you're in a place where you got to be intentional about what's happening. So here's the landed plane on the 401k. Really, really, really make sure that you take the resources that are in front of you and use them well. Don't just read these people are making fees on your investment. Mm-hmm. So
make them earn it.
Make them earn. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Make them earn it. make them earn the fees, pay attention to what you're doing. And then if you can't get the kind of advice or information you need really to make a good decision, then here's a simple, stupid question. How often would you take your own money to invest in something that you weren't really familiar with?
Yeah, never.
I mean, think about that at face value. I mean, that's a great question. How often would you invest your money into something you're not familiar with?
Yeah.
I mean, like if you're at least, if the scale is 1 to 10 and 10 is super smart, even if you're a 1, you'd be like, I ain't doing that ever.
Right.
And yet you're in a situation where you're doing it a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're investing into things that you have no idea what you're doing. And then you're like, why is my investment not growing? The 401ks company's like, don't worry about it. It's going to just hang in there. Johnny, did we charge him that extra fee last month?
Yeah.
Because they asked 3 questions. No, pay attention to what you're doing. And if you're not willing to pay attention, then put money into something that you are willing to pay attention to.
People like to put a lot of trust in what they say as authority figures. That's why people fall for the media. That's why people fall for these investments.
Yeah.
You know, they just trust these people, and you shouldn't. You should.
Oh, he's got a nice suit on. That suit's expensive. I bet he knows what he's talking about.
I love what Ziegler used to say. He said, you see that man with a 3-piece suit and a briefcase? Be careful. He may only just have a 3-piece suit and a briefcase. So pay attention to what you're doing. You got your 401k. Pay attention, folks. Don't just blindly put money in every single month and just hope and dreams it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Here's what I can tell you. It ain't. Okay? Pay attention. All right? Share this with someone that's got a 401k, and make sure you subscribe to this show if you're not, if you're listening to somewhere else, and click on the notification bell, because I'm going to tell you right now, there's some stuff we're going to be talking about here you need to know about in your life to empower yourself.
Yeah.